different things. But really, when it comes to the who's the champion, who's the owner of the 17 goals, is the local government. And there is something called, I think, for each government, they have like a national, local SDGs. And I hope that all our governments continue to engage with our community to get the feedback into their national SDGs, which is different than the SDGs as we know in overall policy SDGs. So just some of the things that I'd like to throw in and out. And green building is cities and neighborhoods, not just only a building. So, thank you. Oh, sorry. One more thing. When I said the bridge between the energy, just make it more casual. In green building, we have something called VOC, velocity organic component, which is the indoor, whatever you get out of the paint. We're suffering from the paint, like people are buying, I'm just recommendation for everybody since I'm an architect. Just use the water-based paint. Don't use the oil-based paint when you paint your own room or you want to do, just as general advice, to keep your space healthy the best you can. So thank you.
Hello, good morning. Jessica Abed, a retired engineer. I focus on policy making in the energy transition. And that's because I worked for a decade in renewable energy as an engineer, and I realized at some point that without proper policy making, the technology by itself is not going to go anywhere. Thank you.
And of course, the renewable energy and green building is one of the champions and one of the pillars of moving forward.
Thank you very much. You and the group is it's really very impressive, and thank you very much for coming here to our region. I agree with Mr. Faisal. The SDG 17 goals are very impressive and cover every element in our life, and it was a genius work. The main problem that faces those 17 elements are the implementation, the details. And what I didn't see during our discussion yesterday is the market mechanism for each thing. In fact, you can change the behavior through the public policy. And the public policy can include two parts. Part number one, the enforcement law. Part number two is the market mechanism, which is powerful. In economics, we have two parts at the micro level, the household part and the business part. The main goal of business part is profit maximization, which we understand. And the main objective of the household is maximizing our utility, our satisfaction of any action. So I believe including the market mechanism at the micro level can help to achieve each of those single goals. With respect to the behavioral change, Mr. Arab yesterday raised a very important part, the continuous consumption or the rational consumption. Unfortunately, worldwide, we have a problem in consumption. We are consume, I believe, I can give you a simple estimation, 4 times what we need, every one of us. I apply my rule for myself, and I found it very successful and very healthy, by the way, in consumption. I eat well for example, this is my experience, one day, one meal, and the second 2 days I don't eat. Just coffee and simple coffee and water, and I'm very healthy. And alhamdulillah, I have no health issues. I'm proud of that. Maybe I raised in a farm, and I lived there for 20 years. I was lucky for that. So, and we raised based on the market mechanism since we were a child. Market mechanism will help The research and development, believe me, I can tell you how. Market mechanism can help for solid waste management. We have an expert here in waste management, Dr. Ayunis. And market mechanism can help in transferring the consumption from a lower level to a high level. You can decrease the amount of what we eat with high quality. So in this case, we can rationalize our consumption a better way for our health and so on. So we can address all the 17 goals using market mechanism in single details. Agriculture, industrial sector, including also the green building, Mr. Faisal, as well. We can use market mechanism to change the behavior of the people to use or to count on green building. The certificates. We can change, simply it changes the incentives from one hand to another. If you obey the instructions or the regulations, in this case, you got this reward. If you don't follow, you are gonna pay that. We are gonna take this payment and redistribute it. So I can say redistribute. It's a concept of public finance in general. It's a branch of economics called public finance. We are taking taxes from those who are able to and distribute it for those who need them. But not from that, we are not imposing taxes. We are using the market mechanism to change our behavior in a way or another. We can go in details for that, each single sector in the economy. We need to go to some details. My name is Ahmed Khalifa. I'm a professor of economics here. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, if I can just, in relation to that, the market mechanism, I think a very good example, which is being done in some countries, and in my country, for example, is being done is the taxes on alcohol and cigarettes. So it has been shown by studies, at least in the Philippines, that the consumption of smoking, particularly among teenagers, because they usually start smoking very early on, has actually declined. But of course, not to the level that we would want to, but I think it will take time as well. But I think it did contribute significantly to the reduction in. So I'm just mentioning that because that is a good example of in a way, having the market determine how behavior will go. Of course, in a way that we want, which is of course a reduction in smoking and alcohol intake, particularly for the vulnerable people like. I just mentioned.
Yeah, I wanted to add something on this because it's reminded me it's not to tax energy, that in the Arab region we have a lot of these subsidies and cross subsidies for the fossil fuels and electricity, which has historically just encouraged a lot of wasteful electricity consumption. And we don't want to say that we do need to consume electricity and energy in general, but we need to make it more efficient. And while we focus a lot on renewable energy targets as well, there's a lot less of energy efficiency and making sure that we're using this energy in the best way and we're conserving this energy and we're making sure it's actually efficient. And we still, electricity is very cheap across the Arab region in so many places. So subsidies, we've had plans to eliminate subsidies for so long, but they follow the social political context that we've kept them for so long. And then we just consume electricity. It's just the habit of leaving a room also with the light on. That also falls in buildings.
I agree with you about this point. I'll give you an example about the renewable energy and the importance of reducing consumption of fossil fuels. In California, they started something called the carbon credit, tax credit for those who own electric cars. This is one example. This increased the number of vehicles in the state and reduce CO2 emission and reduce the consumption of consumption. This is one example. Another example of the market tools. those, this is we discussed that yesterday with one of our colleagues here, Laurent. We can provide voucher or some market tools or monetary value for those who reduce their electricity consumption of Qatari people here, or because it's free, we have free water and electricity. We can replace that with a voucher, and this voucher with a limited amount of consumption per month. If they pass this amount, they can enjoy. We have electricity, we are welfare economy. So they can consume, okay, you pay what you consume. Okay. You go below this level, we are gonna give you reward for that. Save your money for your kids and use it in your way. This is another example of energy efficient. Market mechanism is put it invisible. Yes.
Now I know.
This is a concept in 1776 of Adam Smith.
Yeah. Okay. So I would like to go a bit deeper in the consumption and the role of the consumer and how the choices are made and based on what information we have. And so if you look at the transport sector and the energy sector, so we already heard about, you know, you need to look a bit wider. It's not enough to promote renewable energy. You need to look at your grid, etc. You look at electric cars, the same issue applies. Now, at the same time, there is also a message to consumers: use public transport. Now, I've tried it. I wanted to visit. I was in Brussels. I wanted to go to Middelfart in Denmark to visit my friend. I had just seen a study that was done, how much less CO2 I would emit by not taking the plane, which takes like an hour and a half flight, and instead go by train. So I did it, 5 trains. So 4 times I needed to change. But I thought, I have my book, I'll read. It's okay, it takes me 16 hours, but it's fine. I'm doing something. I take the first train in Melle. 50 minutes later, I arrive in Brussels. I go and look, train canceled to Köln. And I'm like, okay. So apparently, the advocacy to promote public transport is a bit precocious, because apparently policymakers or decision makers have not put in place for me to use it. Now, what will happen? Okay, I'll persist. I'm hopeful it will improve. But I can tell you, 80% of the people, you've lost them on this. Similarly, okay, an electric car. Are we really looking at the whole picture? I don't know. Did we look at the batteries? You need lithium, you hear now, oh, there are big geopolitical consequences to this. Where are these? The rare metals you need. How does that affect? We all know what happens if you're a country that's poor, but very rich in natural resources. So what will happen? The mining that will come. What will we lose?